Good morning, Tampa Bay. How the hell are you doing on this Monday edition of Channelside in the morning, live on the Channelside Sports Network? You know me, I am Danny. Just a moment, I will be joined, of course, by my co-host Evan. We've got a good little show to talk about today, as we always do. We try to work up some best talking points and the most fun concepts and headlines that we can when it comes down to not just Tampa sports, but headlines that may include our Tampa sports and just some of the biggest headlines across the sports world. Of course, we're going to talk all about the Tampa Bay Rays, all about the Tampa Bay Rays. They didn't get it done as well as we would have liked against the Baltimore Orioles. We'll talk about that, but we're also going to talk a lot about Mr. Juan Soto and his $440 million contract offer rejection of the Washington Nationals. We're going to talk about the home run derby tonight. Of course, that's probably one of the most star-studded and packed home run derbies we've seen in many years. Look ahead into the NFL season. What records are at risk? And also, we found a fun little tidbit thanks to our friends over at the Game Day NFL. NFL teams that have not had an MVP on their team ever. We're going to talk about that. We're going to see who is the next team that could possibly have an MVP. I know it's strange to say because Tom Brady's on the Buccaneers, but I mean, Aaron Rodgers is winning MVPs. He's not winning Super Bowls. We win Super Bowls. But I digress. Anyway, and I found some interesting numbers thanks to college football on Fox about how the recruiting system looks even after the conference realignment. The SEC is still owning that battle, and it's not even close. And then it goes even further in depth, and we have a little graphic that we're going to show you about schools and where the most of these recruits are going as far as the physical school and the physical location that they are going to. I appreciate everybody that is tuned in this morning. We always do a lot better on Twitter, which I'm okay with. I mean, I can't complain. I like going on Twitter. Got to get you guys to come on Facebook. Not Facebook. Jesus. It's Monday. Come on, bear with me. YouTube's where it's at. That's where it's at, guys. We got to get you to come over to YouTube. This is going to be our exclusive home very, very, very soon. And yeah. Good things in the pipeline. August can't come soon enough. That's all I got to say about that. That's all I can say about that. I guess we're going to dive right into it. Unfortunately, our Tampa Bay Rays did not get the sweep that we were hoping for and continue that streak over the Baltimore Orioles, who came in just as hot. Yandy Ramirez is going to be out with a broken thumb, and I find this very annoying that we actually have to talk about this. And look, Yandy Ramirez is not injury prone. Like, if you follow the Channelside Sports Twitter account, we like to have fun. So like when people are starting to go down with injuries and you got to hear these certain things and you go, okay, well, they're not injury prone, but maybe the training staff could do a little bit better. But I mean, you can't train bones to be stronger, right? Like that starts at a young age. When you're having your bones, or when your bones are stronger, like you got to drink more milk, like vitamin D, like whole milk instead of skim milk, or instead of 1%. Like, how can we sit here and say, okay, well, the Rays players are injury prone? If you're breaking a finger, like there's no way that you're not going to break that finger. You can strengthen your hamstrings, you can strengthen your quads, you can strengthen all of these other things, but you can't call a team injury prone if they're breaking a finger on a baseball. It's just it's going to happen. That's like saying a basketball player is injury prone if he rolls an ankle. If you're jumping repeatedly, the chances of you rolling that ankle are going to be a hell of a lot higher than somebody who is bowling. Could you imagine that somebody going down the bowling alley holding the ball and rolls? Good Lord. But yeah, you can't call the Rays players injury prone. You just like it's not something that's feasible. Of course, like I said, if you follow the Channelside Sports Twitter account, we like to have fun. And that's the name of the game with Channelside Sports. We're going to talk about sports. We're going to bring the community together. We're going to trash talk. We're going to have fun. And then also at the same time, like this is what we do. Right? Like you can't expect me not to have fun while I got freaking Bart Simpson and Tommy Pickles in my background. Like let's be honest here, guys. Like this is what I do. This is what we do at Channelside Sports is we have fun. So when Taylor Jenkins and I start joking about what can the Rays players do to be not injury prone, that's not because we believe it's injury prone. That's because you guys are saying that it's injury prone. What can you do to strengthen? Drink more milk. Get Kurt Angle out there. Get Kurt Angle with the milk truck. Have him start shooting milk at people. Force feed them milk and strengthen those bones, baby. That's what we got to do if we're the Tampa Bay Rays. Force feed those bastards milk. Cereal every morning for breakfast. I don't want to hear anything else. That's what you're going to have because you're injury prone because that's what these fans believe. Broken bones means injury prone, right? It doesn't. Just for the record, it does not mean that you are injury prone. And that's it is what it is. That's where we are at this point. Of course, Juan Soto, we're going to jump right into this now. Juan Soto rejected the $440 million contract offer from the Washington Nationals. Huge deal. But if you actually read into the report further than the headline, which is a hell of a lot more than most people read nowadays, and I understand that because I used to once be a beat writing media credentialed journalist, and I understand that that's how this works now is you've got to get basically everything you want to get in your headline because nobody else really gives a crap about the rest of it, and that's fine. Juan Soto rejected the $440 million contract, not because of the money. He rejected it because of the length of time. He did not want to sign a deal for that long. And that's where this boils down. That's where the issue is for Juan Soto. It's not the $440 million. I'm sure if the Washington Nationals are in a better position than they are in currently, I'm sure maybe that's a little different. If they've been kind of a hot commodity over these last handful of seasons, yeah, sure. But I mean, look, if you look where they are right now, they're in the cellar of the NL East. 31 and 63. They're 27 and a half games behind the New York Mets for first place. If you want to take it even further, because I know we talk a lot about how tight-knit the AL East is, we take that a step further. The Washington Nationals are 13 and a half games behind the Miami Marlins for fourth place in that division. So look, this team's not getting out of the cellar. I'm sorry. They're not getting out of the cellar, and they're not going to get out of the cellar for a very long time. And unfortunately, that it is what it is, and that's what it's going to be for the Washington Nationals. Juan Soto's market is now open. Unfortunately, teams that are tied to him are the Yankees and Mets. Go figure, right? Like that's how that works in baseball. As soon as there's somebody that is available, not necessarily always the Mets, but you're going to get New York, you're going to get Los Angeles. For a little stretch of time, there was a lot of talk about Houston. But you're always going to get these teams that are in the mix. Hell, CBS completely wrote off this Tampa Bay Rays team, and they literally said, no pay, no play. Tampa Bay's out. Tampa Bay is totally out, according to CBS, and they're not even going to give them a chance at landing Juan Soto simply because they just don't pay their players. And they're right. That doesn't mean that they should not put in an offer. That doesn't mean that they should not attempt to sign Juan Soto, trade for him. Look, we talked about this yesterday. I talked about this a lot on Twitter yesterday. If you are afraid to trade away your unknown commodity prospects to get a currently known star, you are out of your mind. There's a reason why teams are trading multiple draft picks away to get current stars. Everything now is a win now mode. Every team is in win now mode. And I know what you're saying. Well, the Rays won 100 games last year. They're not going to win 100 games this year. It's physically impossible. They're not going to improve based off of what they did last year. So it's not going to be it's not a feasible thing for the Rays to win 100 games and finish this year ahead of where they were last year. Is it impressive where they are with all of the injuries? Absolutely, it's impressive where they are with all the injuries. But why can't they pay to get players down here? Oh, well, nobody goes in. Nobody shows up to Rays games? Fine. Easy solution. Pick a freaking site for your stadium. Make it easily accessible for your fans to go to. Now your stadium is regularly packed because you are a good team. So now when you sign and you try to trade for Juan Soto, now you can afford to trade for Juan Soto because you've got an ass every 3 inches inside of a seat.
Good morning, sir.
Well, good morning.
Did I come just in time for the Juan Soto conversation?
Yes, you did.
So let's put a disclaimer out there for everybody that doesn't know baseball and how baseball works. For those people that think they won't be able to sign him, they're not trying to sign for him. They're not going to. He's in a trade mode. So for the people I saw on Facebook yesterday thinking, oh, we don't have the money for do this, we'd have to give. They're not just signing, giving him money. They're trading for him.
He's under contract for 2 more years.
Exactly. So he'd be a rental at least.
Right.
Because there'd be no way they'd be able to afford him after the season's over anyways.
I mean, but here's the thing. You can sign Juan Soto if you pick a freaking stadium.
True. Well, yes, that is very true too. And I think one of the things that we had on the rundown too was trade scenarios. You're going to have to give up a king's ransom for him. That's
totally fine.
That's totally legitimate. That's totally what you have to give up to get a player of this caliber. Now, are the Rays willing to do that? Probably not, because we know how they like to covet things. I know that over the weekend that the Mets, the Yankees, the Padres were emerging as teams to possibly in the sweepstakes too as well. I mean, obviously they're going to have to give up a lot. You're going to have to give up multiple prospects. You're going to have to give up players that are already on the field. So it's one executive said it was going to be like a Kevin Durant type trade, which is very true. It's very fair. So, we'll see as the weeks go by before the trade deadline happens. Obviously, probably nothing's going to happen before the All-Star break. So we'll see after what happens. But he's going to move. I mean, if the Nats were smart, they would try and move him as quickly as possible because he does not want to be there at all.
Right. No. And my thing is Taylor Jenkins and I were talking, former Pewter Report writer, and keeping these unknown commodities at you, like we talk about this all the time, Evan. When you refuse to move these unknown commodities to get a superstar player, a currently known commodity stop coddling them. There's a reason why. The NBA just had a report out about these last 2 seasons. They've had more draft pick trades than ever. The NFL, the same thing. Why is that? Because you would rather go with who is known to be a performer at the highest level rather than take a gamble on somebody that you don't know is going to pan out. Because look, at the end of the day, Evan, we don't know how many of these guys are going to pan out.
Right.
How long has the Rays farm system? How long has the Rays farm system been known as being prestigious?
It's been a while. I mean, we've been in the top, not only the top 5, but in the top 2 for a very long time.
So we trade away some of these people, and then all of a sudden, it's just going to crumble. Now it's a terrible farm system. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. It seems like that is the mentality. Is if we give up a ton of prospects to whoever. Now, obviously, there is a sort of caution because, if you trade away a bunch of these prospects that are are in your farm system that are the top guys that, are in the top, the top 50, let's per se. Okay. And you're going after Juan Soto, who is essentially going to be a rental the rest of the year. You are essentially putting all your chips in the center, going, we're all in. And if it doesn't work out, and down the line, a few of these guys end up being superstars, then of course you're going to get the criticism as in, oh, well, they shouldn't have given up these guys for the Juan Soto trade. It's like, well, you have two unknowns there. You don't know if this trade, could have worked out in their favor and they maybe won the World Series, or if they didn't put all their chips in and a couple of years down the road, these guys come up and they're superstars. It's too many unknowns that I wish the Rays would maybe kind of consider and then, pull the trigger on a type trade like this. Will they be involved? I'm sure they will be. I mean, any team that's in playoff contention is going to make a phone call and say, what do you need to make this happen? Any team is going to be involved. That's in the playoff race. It's all about if the Rays will want to give up, what the Nats are asking for. That's the biggest thing. You know what I mean? And I look at it this way too. If Kevin Kiermaier didn't get hurt and is possibly out for the rest of the season, he would probably be in that trade scenario.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
But obviously, he's not going to be in there.
Right.
But yeah, it's going to take a lot, and I want them to be involved with this. I've been saying this all season long. I want them to be involved, but it's going to have to take the King's ransom to pull this off. So we'll see.
What if they don't you have to make an offer at least. At the very least, you have to make an offer.
I see that happen. I see them being involved in making an offer. I just don't think it's going to be up to what the Nats want. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure they're going to put together like a package offer that's going to include a couple prospects, maybe one of our expendable players that's already out in the field right now, but the Nats are just going to reject it. And then you'll have a team like, the Padres or, even the Dodgers. Dodgers might be involved with this too, that are just going to throw everything because that's what they do. Those are the big teams that just throw everything in the kitchen sink to get the players that they want to make a run for the World Series. And, even if they make an offer and it gets rejected, they will still be active at the trade deadline anyways. Will they make like big moves? Probably not. They'll probably make a couple moves here and there to fill in the needs that they have right now because of injuries. But to put them on the totem pole of if it's likely to get, pulled off where they will make a trade and get Juan Soto, they're way down on the list.
Yeah. Because
it's only because they covet way too much instead of let's put it all in. You know what I mean?
Yep. Well, and right before you came on, I was talking about CBS already wrote off the Rays.
Did they?
Yeah, they said they don't pay, so they're not going to play.
I mean, it's true. I mean,
and it's how sad of a moniker is that to be tied to your team though is like, hey, this great player is available.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not even going to consider you as a legitimate destination simply because you don't really care to bring in superstar players.
CBS isn't wrong. I mean,
no, not at all. And that's the sad thing.
Yeah, and it is a sad thing too because going back to what you said about, do they think their farm system's going to crumble if they go all in? They shouldn't think that way, man, because they reload every single year with young prospects that come up through their system. And so what if
the draft last night?
Yeah, I mean, and so what? Danny, look at this too. I mean, so what if your farm system takes a hit for maybe a couple of years? I mean, Isn't it worth going after a player that could get you over the hump and get you a ring if that's what it takes? Like, have some huevos, have some balls, man. Like, just put all in. Go against you're going against Johnny Chan at the final table at the World Series of Poker. Put your chips in, man.
Yeah. Is it not your ultimate goal for your farm system to filter into your Major League Baseball team to win a World Series? Right. Is that not the ultimate goal as a World Series, or is it farm system championships?
I mean, they love winning championships down in Durham. I mean, Durham wins a lot. So if that's
right, but how is that helping the Rays?
Right. Hey, it goes. We're good down the minors. That's what it shows.
Good Lord. I don't think
what's your probability that Let me dial that back. What's your percentage that they do make an offer?
I think it's like a 30% chance.
Okay. So
I
obviously your next answer is going to be relatively low if like the chances of them landing Juan Soto.
I think here's the thing. I think that there's a 30% chance of them offering it, and then I think it's also a 30% chance of them landing him.
Okay. All right.
Because I feel like if they are actually going to play in the Juan Soto sweepstakes, they're going to make a damn good offer. Because otherwise, why would you do that? Because you're already kind of a laughing stock of the league when it comes to trades and bringing in free agents and stuff, because you just simply don't really do it as the Tampa Bay Rays.
Well, I disagree with you about the laughing stock about the trades. I would say yes when it comes to making trades for big players, but when they make trades, they really make some good ones. I mean, the Pirate trade was actually like one of the sweetest ones out there right now.
Right.
So I wouldn't call them stupid when it comes to the trades. I would say when it comes to big name players, they are really they're not known for that, and they're not great for it because they just the most trades they are known for is, hey, we've got a couple players that are probably on the last legs of their career, and we're going to ship them off. That's what they're known for.
Right.
So when it comes to getting the big name stars, not so much.
And that's where I was going with that. I just poorly said. I'm like,
it's okay. It's the context.
I'm like 10% into my energy drink.
It's all good. It's the context.
I'm not fully there.
Context.
Home run derby tonight, baby. Tonight. And here's your official rundown brought to you by ESPN. We got Kyle Schwarber, Albert Pujols, Juan Soto, Juan Ramirez, Rodriguez, Seager, Robert Ancuna Jr., and, of course, Pete Alonso.
I'm going with Pete again. I'm going with Alonso. He's going for the 3-peat.
I mean, he is the favorite for Hard Rock Sportsbook. He's plus 200. Kyle Schwarber is second at plus 330. I mean, I like how this is stacked up, though. That's my thing. Is I like how the bracket is set up.
Wouldn't it be a great story if Pujols wins the whole damn thing?
Oh, it'd be fantastic. I don't know if he has enough juice in him, though.
I know. I would love to see Pujols going against Alonso in the final. That's what I would love to see.
I'd be totally for that.
That'd be a great final.
I'd be a-okay with that. Mm-hmm. So who do you have? Obviously, you got Pete Alonso beating Ancuna, right? Mm-hmm. Do you have Seager over Rodriguez?
No, I've got Rodriguez over Seager.
Okay.
And then in the other bracket, I've got I like Kyle Schwarber, I do, but I'm not going against Pujols, man. Even though he's
straight home run Pujols as well.
Yeah, I mean, because I know Pujols is like old. He's like an old man now, but it would be almost like those Josh Hamilton moments that you'd love to see, like Pujols just like rake off a bunch of home runs and then the crowd goes insane. So I would love to see Pujols beat Schwarber, and then see this last Hector Ramirez versus Juan Soto. That's going to be a good matchup. I'll go with Soto on this one.
I'm going to go with not future Tampa Bay Ray Juan Soto as well. So that would mean that we've got Pujols and Soto.
Yep.
Obviously, we're both pulling for Pujols because who is not?
Yeah, who is not? Who would go against Albert Pujols in this?
I mean, like that's like, yeah. How crazy is that? Like, there's not a more beloved player, I don't think. Maybe maybe somebody like a Mike Trout or somebody is like beloved across the league, but you know what I mean?
Right.
There's nobody that's in the final season of their career outside of possibly Miguel Cabrera, but obviously he's not in the home run derby. He's in the All-Star game, but not the home run derby. There's nobody like you. How do you hate Albert Pujols?
I don't know.
How could you go against him?
Plus, he's the elder statesman in this whole thing. So, wouldn't you want to see the elder statesman like beat the young guys in this?
Right, 100%. Like, it's to me, it's a no-brainer. You got to go for Pujols, and you've probably got to go Pete Alonso. If you look, like I said, Pete Alonso is obviously favorited plus 200. Kyle Schwarber is second. Juan Soto's third, and then Ronald Acuna is fourth. Unfortunately, Mr. Pujols is the underdog. So,
hey, that's cool. I'll take.
if
I'm a betting man, if I'm a betting man, if I'm on a FanDuel or DraftKings, I'm picking Albert Pujols.
Well, I mean, why not?
Mm-hmm.
His the return is that much greater,
right?
Not only as a fan, but monetarily. You put in like $10. I mean, come on,
you're good to go. I wonder what the betting odds are on him. For the
he's not even listed.
He's not even listed on the odds
on Hard Rock Sportsbook.
Come on,
double check that. But yeah, he's it's to me that's kind of crazy that he's not listed, right? Am I wrong in that? Let me see here. Albert Pujols is dead last at 2,200.
It'd be a nice little payout if you bet some money on that.
So if you're going to let's just throw this out here. You put $10 on old Albert Pujols, you're gonna win $230. Sounds like a good deal to me.
Sounds like a good deal to me.
And then you're gonna enjoy it that much more. It'll be that much sweeter to see the legendary Albert Pujols go out at the top of the mountain on the home run derby. Who knows? NFL records. This is going to be a fun one. This is the huge talking point for damn near every single. Anytime you search NFL on Twitter, and then that's what you see is just people talking about. Okay, well, it's getting to that point of the year where preseason is getting ready to start. So now we're going to start talking about like actual things that could happen during the regular season. No more what ifs. No more like, oh, well, what if we sign this guy or trade guy? Like, all thoughts are ahead now. Obviously, there's a lot of records that could fall this year. We talk about receiving yards, receptions, sacks, rushing yards, completions, passing yards, attempts, interceptions. I saw, I think it was CBS also mentioned longest field goal. I don't know how that's at, why is that at risk? That has nothing to do with the amount of games.
No.
Oh, well,
it'd be fun to see, though. It'd be fun to see, though.
Right, yeah. I mean, we got an extra game, so I'm able to kick longer. Like, what?
Nobody's shouting for, I want to see that kick happen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No. What records do you think are, like, I assume that receiving yards is going to fall this year. Actually, you know what? I don't think so. Because Cooper Kupp had a fantastic season last year, and he still fell short. And, like, his year had most people just in awe of how great he was playing and that chemistry that he had with Matthew Stafford. And it just seemed like, I think we've talked about this before. Every single play, you're like, how's Cooper Kupp wide open? Every time. It was like, where that ball's going.
He's a human video game. So I would go. Let's start with like passing records. I think they're already pretty much locked up because the man that's still playing has them all.
Mm-hmm.
Be Tom Brady. Receiving wouldn't it be receiving yards would go down this year?
Receiving yards could go down,
and receiving catches.
Receptions. It definitely could. Let me see. Most receptions in a let me see here. Well, most receiving yards. Go here. Most receiving yards is of course Calvin Johnson at 1964. Cooper Kupp last year had 1947.
Oh, okay.
Here's your difference though. Calvin Johnson had 5 touchdowns. Cooper Kupp had 16.
Yeah, that's unreal.
It's insane.
Yeah, this. What about rushing yards though? Like anything rushing?
I mean, Derrick Henry was on pace last year. Eric Dickerson's got 2105, which is the record. Now, here's the catalyst, though, is I think Eric Dickerson did that when in 84, so it was still 16 games in 84. But 2105 is going to be tough to beat.
I don't think anything falls this year.
I think maybe passing yards.
So Tom Brady does it again?
Right. Well, Peyton Manning owns the most passing yards at, what is it, 54-77, I believe. I can double check.
Yeah, I don't think anything's going to fall this year.
I think
with the rate that running backs get hurt, it won't happen. It's just I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think anything falls this year.
I think if anything is at stake, I think that it's going to be the passing yards. I don't think rushing yards because, like you said, running backs get are too often they're too hurt, and the only people that I could honestly even consider to break Eric Dickerson's record would be Jonathan Taylor or Todd Gurley. Or not Todd Gurley, I'm sorry.
Todd
Derrick
Gurley's
Henry.
walking from the house. It ain't gonna happen with him.
I mean, he could break into Madden.
That's true. Oh yeah, that's true too.
Derrick Henry, we don't know how good Derrick Henry is going to be on a full season coming off of that broken foot.
Well, you got to remember, before he got hurt, he was still in like the top 2 for rushing yards by a lot. Actually, he was in there by a lot before Jonathan Taylor came back and beat him. Because
you want to hear a crazy stat? When Derrick Henry had such a lead in rushing yards that it took 3 weeks for Jonathan Taylor to take him over.
I remember that too. That was one of the biggest things on the fantasy was, he's still in the lead, but he's out. And he's probably not coming back maybe to the playoffs at the time. And then the biggest thing was, well, he's still in the lead. He's still like the top. He was still in like MVP conversation after he was out and not playing. That's how good
crazy is that?
That's how good of a running back he is.
Absolutely, it's insane. But I think that like both he and Jonathan Taylor, and who knows how good Jonathan Taylor's going to be now. Now that they got Matt Ryan, they're going to pass the ball a hell of a lot more than they did with Carson Wentz.
That's a conversation we'll save for fantasy football talk.
That's fine. Yeah. But I don't see Jonathan Taylor being used as much. Checkdowns, sure, but as far as just turning around, handing off, I don't know if I see that. Because you got to remember, like Atlanta once had Devontae Freeman, who was a fantastic running back during the time, but he was a fantastic fantasy running back because he was catching a shit ton of passes.
Very true.
Not because he was burning up 200 yards a game. So Derrick Henry, though, I think that he would be the closest, but I still think 2105 is that's too rich for anybody's blood this season.
That's too out of reach for anybody in the league.
Yeah. I said Henry was on pace to beat it last year. And then look, I'm so tired of hearing about they got the extra game. They got the extra game, and they should all the guys who hold the current records, they did it all in 16 games. Do you know who they took those records from? The guys who did them in 15 games. These are the records that we're coveting so hard and going, well, they shouldn't count. They shouldn't count. But these ones counted. Like, how is it any different? OJ Simpson ran for 2,000 yards in 15 games.
And that was before he killed 2 people.
I mean, he may have before. He may have killed people on the field to get 2,000 yards in 15 games. Who the hell knows? But to me, that's more impressive than
what's the longest kick one?
Well, who has the longest kick now? Who has?
I know Justin Tucker's got a long one.
I think he has the record from last year.
Does he?
66 yards is the record.
Okay.
Of course, he did that against the Detroit Lions on that kick that should have never happened.
It was funny. I was scrolling through Facebook, and somebody posted up a clip a long time ago when Lane Kiffin put out Sebastian Janikowski for a 76-yard field goal, and everybody was going, what is Kiffin doing? But you never know. Sebastian Janikowski does have that quite a leg. So
he puts that beer belly but into that leg. Mm-hmm. I mean, that dude was thick.
Built like a tight end.
Good. I mean, yeah, he looked like Eric Ebron out there. Also, reports are that Kyle Rudolph is potentially coming to Tampa Bay. I don't know how I feel about that because I feel like he is Cameron Brate 2.0.
I mean, I would be okay with it because he brings the veteran presence to it.
And depth, yes.
And depth, but I mean, you better be paying cheap for him.
Right. Well, and that's my thing, though, is like Kyle Rudolph.
He's a good option to have. If you sign him, he's a good option to have.
Sure. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but he's not any different in the way that the Buccaneers utilized Cameron Brate. He's not any different than the way that the Vikings utilized Kyle Rudolph.
Right.
It's like the same, hey, we're inside the 10. You know who's going to go to.
Danny, does it really matter, though, who they bring in as a tight end to come in as depth? Because the way the Bucs offense is set up anyways is not really tight end centric. When Gronkowski was first brought in, there wasn't a heavy focus on him because remember, like he didn't have a touchdown until late in the season. Mm-hmm. He was more about, protecting Tom Brady at that time. They weren't really putting a focus on him because they had so many other weapons. So if you go out and get a veteran presence, it's going to be more for the depth, and it's going to be more for, the veteran tight end presence to help those young guys that are coming up, and even help with Cameron Brate too, because I'm sure Cameron Brate would love to learn a thing or two about a thing or two. So
of course.
At this point, there isn't a bad option. It's just I don't think it's going to be it's not going to matter as much because their offense is not tailored toward the tight end position.
Yeah, I think you want to go for a blocking tight end.
Right.
I think that should be the key. And I think the reason why so many people are fixated on tight end, obviously we're fixated on it because the listeners are fixated on it. So why don't we talk about the shit that you guys want to hear? Tom Brady always ran with Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski. He was doing 2 tight end sets all the time in New England.
Right.
It's not New England. It's a different offensive playbook. It's a different scheme. So to say, well, Tom Brady likes having 2 tight ends. He did just fine running 1 tight end the last 2 seasons for Tampa.
I think he's okay with running without 2 tight ends because he's got, Mike Evans. He's possibly going to have Chris Godwin back week 1. And now you got Russell Gage too. So I think he's okay with running without 2 tight ends. He's going to be just fine.
He's got everything else that he needs. He's got a 260-pound Leonard Fournette.
Yes. Oh, don't make fun of his weight. Come on now.
I mean, hey, Rick Stroud put it out in the ether. Everybody's talking about it now. And I mean, I get it. And I guess this is different than previous seasons because he's always come. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. He always comes in heavy. But the difference for this season is that he skipped the offseason activities, and then he also got that 3-year contract extension and still decided to show up heavier than he ever has. And you're like, okay, I see where there's an issue there. Because I don't want my newly signed 3-year running back to come in and be like, bro, put the Twinkies down.
You don't want him to be, what's that? Remember the back from Green Bay that would always come in fat?
Oh, Eddie Lacy.
Eddie Lacy. You don't want him to be like Eddie Lacy-esque because every single year Eddie Lacy used to get fatter and fatter.
Fatter? Yes.
He used to get fatter and fatter.
It's, look, I get it. But if it's really a problem, trade for Saquon Barkley.
I don't think it's going to be a problem for him.
I don't think so either.
This is just all things that people can just complain about on Twitter.
And I think Rachaad White is really, I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. I know we'll do more hot takes later on in the week, but I think Rachaad White is going to surprise a hell of a lot of people. And he's going to, I'll save it for Friday. I'll save it.
Save it.
But yeah, Leonard Fournette, come on, man. Lose a little weight. You just got a 3-year deal. Come on, man. Like a little professional courtesy.
Eat a salad. Eat a salad for God's sakes.
Right. Light on the dressing, buddy. Do some balsamic vin. Stay away from the Thousand Island. You'll be all set, man. Interesting thing that I saw from our friends over at the Game Day NFL. So we would talk about this later on in the show, and well, guess what? We're 40 minutes into the show. It is later on. Teams that have never had a player win an MVP. Are you shocked by any of the 3 teams on here? I think the initial takeaway is a lot of Bucs fans are like, what? Like, no, Tom Brady never won the MVP here.
I'm not shocked for the Jags. I am shocked because of the Bucs, especially the Saints. And then even like the Texans, because I think of when Deshaun Watson was in the league and he put up gaudy numbers.
When he was in the league.
He's still debatable right now. The Jets, I'm thinking of the days back in the day when Joe Namath was there.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, no, nobody else. And then the Cardinals, the Cardinals had MVP type caliber players remember when Kurt Warner was there?
Edgerrin James,
when even like Larry Fitz, when Fitzy was there, even Carson Palmer put up great numbers there. Like he was in the conversation when he was a quarterback there. So I am shocked with those 4 teams or those 5 teams. Jags, not so much. I'm really shocked about the Saints because I always thought like Drew Brees would have won at least one MVP. Especially
because the MVP is really a quarterback trophy.
Yeah, especially during the Super Bowl run that they had that year. You know, so
I mean,
I'm a little shocked.
yeah, Drew Brees is regularly throwing down 5,000 passing yard seasons like it was nobody's business.
He did win a Super Bowl MVP though, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So technically that is a MVP.
That's very true. You know who has more MVPs than anybody? Aaron Rodgers. You know who's got less Super Bowls than or the same amount of Super Bowls as Drew Brees, who has 0 MVPs?
Aaron Rodgers.
If you're looking at the list, who do you think has the most realistic chance of having an MVP?
We talk about presently
out of these 6 teams over, let's say, over the next, I don't know, 5 years.
Well, I would put the Bucs and the Cardinals in that situation because the Cardinals with Kyler Murray and the way he plays, he could be in that conversation. And then Tom Brady, of course, could maybe win it this year or next year, and then he'll retire. I mean, obviously, he's not going to be in the league for the next 5 years, but I would.
He doesn't know when he's leaving.
Well, I know. Well, he did say the other day he doesn't have a lot left. The 5 years, he doesn't know. So I would put the Bucs and the Cardinals because of those two quarterbacks. I mean, with the Saints, Jameis Winston is a very, 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 very low on the totem pole when it comes to that conversation.
I agree.
Because if he was smart, they would tailor him more of a game manager now than trying to be a superstar quarterback.
And then no risk it, no biscuit guy.
Exactly. And then, I mean, Trevor Lawrence could develop into a great quarterback in the league, but I just don't see that happening anytime soon. And then, of course, down with the other two teams with the Jets, no. And there's nobody on that team. Well, let's say, hold on. I'll dial that back. Zach Wilson is an MVP right now when it comes to moms. He is the MVP. So, yes, you do have one MVP on that team, and his name is Zachary Wilson because he slays moms. But the Houston Texans, no, not so much.
I like, I think that outside of the potential Tom Brady MVP, if I'm looking long term, I think that for me anyway, Trevor Lawrence probably has the best shot of winning an MVP. And I think over Kyler Murray too. I love Kyler.
I wouldn't say over Kyler just yet because after the year one with Trevor Lawrence, the year he had, and 90% of that is not his fault. It's just with the system that he had and the coaching that he had. He was pretty much thrown in there when he wasn't ready. I don't think he was ready yet.
And he had no talent around him at all.
Right. So I can agree with you upon that because he does have time to develop as long as the current regime of coaches really take the time and mold him and really coach him the right way. You know what I mean? Because I think that's one of the biggest problems with these guys that get drafted so high and then they get flung into the situation where they're not even ready yet. Like Zach Wilson, I don't think he's still ready yet.
Zach Wilson looked worse than Mike White.
Right.
And most people last year were going, who the hell is Mike White?
Right, exactly. So, the year two, obviously, with a lot of quarterbacks is, okay, if they're going to develop, or is there more of is there more of a developmental stage in his career, or is it more of a regression? That's what the year two is. And you're going to see that with a lot of the year two guys this year. Like Zach Wilson, I don't know if we're going to see that. Trevor Lawrence, I hope to see that because I think he's got the tools to be a good quarterback. It's just,
he has the mechanics. He kind of has that it factor when it comes to being a good quarterback. I mean, not to mention he was the most sought after prospect since John Elway.
Right. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, he's got better coaching, hopefully, with Doug Peterson and co. So we'll see how he develops because that's the biggest thing. Is there a regression, or is there going to be progression?
Yeah. And I mean, look, they bolstered that offensive line in the offseason. Travis Etienne's coming back. So now you've got Etienne and James Robinson in your backfield. Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, you've got Marvin Jones, who is an ageless wonder, apparently, because he's still putting up gaudy numbers for being the age that he is. And then they signed Christian Kirk to the most ludicrous wide receiver contract in history.
Yeah, they overpaid for that guy.
100%. But I mean, he's a good wide receiver, but holy crap, man, he's not worth what he was. The reason why no wide receivers signed for the first handful of days outside of Christian Kirk is because the Jags ruined the wide receiver market. You've got these bums going, I want 100 million.
It's like if Christian Kirk's getting that kind of money, I want that type of money.
Right, yeah. And you're like, well, hey, if you look, Christian Kirk is actually a very solid possession receiver. He's caught 87% of his on-target passes. That's pretty damn good. But now you've got, and I think that's why I make the harder case for Trevor Lawrence is because, like, dude, you've got all of these weapons. You had you had I can't even think of Urban Meyer. Jesus, I've totally wiped that guy from my brain.
I think a lot of people have. So it's okay if you don't remember his name. It's okay.
It was just a complete buffoon, absolute clown show. Jacksonville was a circus. You got players coming out saying, "Yeah, he's kicking me in practice," and all of the other off the field bullshit that he's doing. And like, come on, man, like we don't care. And I think that was just an opportunity for failure. I think Jacksonville was so starved for a winner and starved to come back because you got to remember this team was only a couple of years away from being in the AFC Championship game with arguably the best defense in the NFL at the time. So you finally get a number 1 overall quarterback. Oh, and by the way, they did that with Blake Bortles. Now you get a great quarterback, most sought after quarterback in over 20 years, 40 years, almost. Since John Elway. That's a long time. That's longer than, like, when you think about that, like, think about when John Elway was scouted in the early 80s versus Trevor Lawrence and going, yeah, this is the most sought after guy since then. That's a huge stretch. Now, does that, I mean, those are big shoes to fill when you say something like that. You go, yeah, the most sought after guy in 40 years.
Right.
Big shoes to fill, but now you've got all of the BS out of the way. I mean, Trevor Lawrence even said that after they fired Urban Meyer. Now I feel like we can focus on football. Holy crap. All right. Like, everybody saw it.
At least he recognizes that.
Right. I think he makes for me anyway, he makes the best case for
the best leap in year 2.
I think he's definitely, I'm not going to say he's going to be in the MVP conversation this year by any stretch, but I think hell yeah, if we look at all of the rookies from last year, Justin Fields, who else? Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, I think he by far makes the biggest leap.
Okay. I can agree with you on that. Yeah. I can see that happening.
I've always been low-key kind of like a Jags fan. As a Lions fan, like, I like to see teams that build up, like that aren't in rebuilds for 85 years.
Well, the Jags are almost like that forgettable Florida team because you have the Dolphins, you got the Bucks, and then up there in the Panhandle, you got Jacksonville, which is almost like Alabama's football team. Right.
Which is crazy because Jacksonville's had way more recent success than the Miami Dolphins.
That's very true.
Which is so, I don't know, I guess it's just longevity of it. Who knows? Fox put this out. College Football on Fox put this out. This is after the realignment. The SEC still has 53 top 100 recruits. And this is after USC and UCLA went to the Big Ten. And the Big Ten still only has 17.
See, this is why, Danny, they should get rid of this whole conference thing and just make it in the 4 territories like we spoke about a few weeks ago. Because this is ridiculous. Like, just make it West, Central, North, South. That's all you need to do.
Yep.
Like, this is because it's going to come to the point where the SEC just owns everything.
Right. Well, I mean, if you take it even further, here you go. Now, my first takeaway when I look at that, how the hell does Texas A&M have 18 of the top 100 recruits?
Well, there's that feud that Saban and Jimbo had early on about paying for players and offering money. And I mean, obviously you can do that now, but before, I think with the deep pockets that A&M has, I mean, I'm sure they're going to be able to afford those players now. I'm really shocked about Ohio State because Ohio State Yeah, only having 7. I would have thought, Ohio State would be in the double digits, at least over Georgia.
Yeah, I would have flip-flopped Ohio State and Georgia for sure.
Yeah, I'm a little shocked about that because Ohio State usually lands top recruits. I'm really shocked over that. Wow, only 7.
Remember just a couple of years ago, Michigan was in double digits.
Right.
It showed you kind of how far they've fallen from grace because Jim Harbaugh
Same.
just can't seem to get it done.
Well, same with Florida and Florida State.
Yeah,
Even Miami. I mean, those 3 teams are now kind of like in the bottom of that echelon because they're not winning programs like they used to be. Even Oklahoma. Oklahoma's down there too.
Yeah, I think Miami has 2 more top 100 recruits this year than they did last year.
Oh, really?
For what it's worth.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. The one that's really kind of stood out, and I agree with you. Like I didn't think Texas A&M had that type of pull where they bring in like that many top recruits. Like obviously Alabama would be the number 1 dog, but like A&M, like I'm whatever they're doing down there in Texas and Aggie country. I mean, they must be doing something right.
Totally agree.
That many recruits, man. That's insane.
Do you think that part of the reason why Texas A&M has that many recruits is because of the NIL?
I would say it's about 75% of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that.
I think a lot of players are wanting to stay home in terms of like where they go to school. I mean, this is a totally different conversation for another day, but I think a lot of it has to do with like that millennial gen, or what is the next one? Gen Y? Is that what this current generation is?
Yeah, I think it goes back to A. After it goes to Gen Z, it goes to Gen A again.
Right. But I think that a lot of this generation that's getting ready to go into school, into college, I think they want to stay at home because they're not accustomed to doing the things. They weren't raised the same way that we were raised.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They weren't raised to like know how to do laundry and do all this. So when you stay home, now you still have your mom to do it. And that's not a knock on them.
It's not a bad thing.
No, I wish somebody would do my damn laundry.
I would say that it has a lot to do with it too because of that almost hometown discount too. Because when you're a coach that you're recruiting from inside the state, you be like, look, you don't have to travel far, man. You can kind of stay relatively close to your house. You're still going to make some dollar bills from signing with our team. And I think the family part of it comes in play too. Like, hey, your parents don't have to travel so far for games when it comes to home games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or, the family this and family that. That's why, yeah, I definitely think the family part has to go so much into that because they always have to play the part of, hey, you don't have to travel. You don't have to leave your home. You don't have to travel out of state. You don't have to, obviously paying out of state tuition now wouldn't be even a factor because of the type of money that they're going to be getting now.
Right.
And playing. But I think the hometown discount and, hey, you're going to be that hometown kid that's still going to be playing in front of that hometown crowd. Instead of being like a relatively unknown college kid going to a different state. Hell yeah, I think it plays into that. Hell yeah.
Right. I mean, I look at, and I can't think of his name right now, the kid that transferred from Pitt to USC. And he ended up signing a bigger deal than most draft picks when it comes to NIL.
Wasn't it $3 million for the signing bonus on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's making more than, I think it was every what was it? It was every pick later than 12 in the NFL draft. He was making more money now on NIL. And you look and you go, okay, well, he's making a lot of money. And then you pull up and you go, okay, well, how has Pitt done in the last couple of years? The highest they've done, the highest since 2010 is ranked 13. So I think, and that's kind of where I base my thought process on staying home and all of that is like, and the NIL having an effect because you don't need to be part of a winning program anymore.
Right.
You need to be a social media influencer. That's really what it boils down to is you need to, you need to be able to, I don't want to say sell your soul to the devil, but you've got to have a pretty smile. You've got to have charisma, and then you're going to get these bigger NIL deals. It's name, image, and likeness. It's not performance on field deals that you're signing. That's the NFL draft. I
hope this really kind of teaches young kids coming up, like, okay, you've got this huge amount of money that's coming in as a college kid. Let's teach them how to actually manage that money now.
Yes, you need financial awareness courses I think we should have those starting in middle school, if I'm being honest with you. Because high school comes around, you start getting a little summer job, you start making a little, you're not making your allowance anymore.
Right.
Like, oh, well, you cut the grass. Here's your $10 for the week.
F you, Dad, I'm making millions of dollars playing football.
Right. And I blew it all. But yeah, if you're signing these NIL deals, you have to. I'm all for anybody making money. Right. I'm not going to say that these kids that are in school, that the schools are making money hand over fist, are not making a penny. I think that's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And forget, well, they're getting a free education. They don't give a crap about both sides. The school doesn't care about their education. The school cares about their performance on the football field. And then the athlete does not care about their education because they're taught that I'm going to make millions of dollars when I get to the NFL if I play well in the field. And that's all that matters. And that's unfortunate. So on the flip side, here's your easy way to fix that. Start giving financial education courses.
Here's a question I want to pose to you, which I saw on a podcast over the weekend. Should college athletes even be required to go to classes anymore since they're getting paid? Only college athletes only.
Great. Oh, that's a great question.
Should they even be required to go to class? Because essentially they are being recruited and signed and given money just to play a sport. They're not going to, right. They're not going to go to history class or get a major in, clinical psychology. They're going there to play football or basketball and make money. So right. My answer to that question is they should be given the option. Mm-hmm. Listen, you're being recruited to play football for us. We're going to give you a couple $1 million to be here, or we're going to give you six figures. Well, however much money we're going to give you. If you want to pursue a degree outside of this, you have the option of doing that. But other than that, your focus should be on the sport. There should be an option for that because, a lot of these players coming in there, their focus is, hey, I want to be in the NBA. I want to be in the NFL. I want to do this. I want to do that. Like, school is not on my list of things to do here. But of course, you have those other players that look outside of my college years and my tenure here. I'm probably not going to pursue the NBA or the NFL. So I do want to get a degree in something. So it should be an optional thing for college athletes.
That's not wrong. It's not, because I guarantee you, if we actually did a deep dive, how many times we're always looking to expose, like, where's the money going? Where's the money going? If we did a deep dive into what these athletes are actually doing in school and what their grades are, and if they're actually turning in their assignments or if they're just passing because they're a star football player or star basketball player, I'd be willing to bet that a lot of exposing comes out when we do that.
Oh, I would totally agree with you on that. And I think also too, it kind of brings into a point where it's almost you're educating the educated, because when it comes to, hey, okay, listen, your shelf life as an NFL player is 3.5 to maybe 5 years, and that's on an average. What are you going to do after that? What's your life going to be? Are you going to be able to handle your major assets? You're going to be able to invest your money into that wisely? What are you going to do? So you almost have to or you're relatively scaring them into like getting a degree as well, because if you're not teaching them how to manage their money correctly, then okay, what are you going to do after life after? What if you get hurt year 2 of your NFL career and your career's pretty much over with? What are you going to do?
Yeah, now you're going to work at Home Depot.
Yeah, you're going to
because you didn't go to school. You didn't follow. But also at the same time, how many times, like, we still make a big deal of like, oh, Vince Carter went back to North Carolina and graduated 30 years after he stopped playing basketball at North Carolina. Good. We always make a big deal of these athletes that went back to school because it clearly didn't mean anything when they were there the first time.
Right.
Right? Like that's how I look at that. Is it didn't matter. It didn't matter for them at all. So why force them? Give them the option. Like you said, that's a great, I know that's going to be a very polarizing topic.
Let's make that a poll.
That's going to be absolutely, That's going to catch fire.
Yeah, I would say give them the option. Give them the option to go to class or pursue a degree. Other than that, let them train. Let them focus on whatever sport they sign millions of dollars for.
Yeah. Because that's the reason why you paid them to come to your school anyway.
Exactly. You're not paying them. You're not paying them to go to math class or science class. You're paying them to play a sport
that you're going to pass them in anyway.
Right.
Look at Derek Rose didn't even take the SAT. Somebody cheated on the SAT. He had somebody take it for him and they misspelled his name.
Derek Rose.
Right. Won an MVP award in the NBA. Terrible college student at Memphis. How did he get into Memphis? Who in the hell knows?
Derek Rose.
But he was a good basketball player, so that's why he got there. You know, it's like I like that. I like that thought. I'm gonna have to figure out how to dress that bad boy up and make it look cute. And we're gonna throw that out.
What's that gif? The guy was like this.
Oh. You can't drop out of school if we're gonna pass you anyway. Good Lord. That's going to wrap it up for us on this Monday edition of Channelside in the Morning, live on the Channelside Sports Network. We appreciate everybody who tuned in today. Follow us on the social media platforms, basically anywhere. Just search for the Channelside Sports Network. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up when you're watching us on YouTube. That helps pop us over to the main page. So when you just go to youtube.com, you go, wow. There's our boys. We were with them from the beginning of time. Channelside Sports made the front page. We'll get there. I am Danny. That is Evan. Enjoy the home run derby tonight. We'll be back. We'll talk all about it. We're getting more people that are joining the show right now as we tune out. Rewatch the broadcast. Throw in some comments. We'll get back to you and we'll chat. We'll chop it up and we'll chat about whatever comments you have. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. If you didn't, tough.
Yeah, tough.